Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing? Thank you for stopping by. My name is JC. This is the Cuban Redneck DIY channel where we do cooking and grilling on Tuesdays, DIY stuff on Friday. This is your first time here. Thank you for stopping by. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Today I want to talk to you about brisket, a classic American dish that if you live in South Florida, you may have never had. Really not very popular. It wasn't until moved to Texas that I really got into having brisket, often, like once a week. I think the brisket has an unfair reputation for being dry, tasteless, and tough. So I decided to make a video and show you how to make a really savory, not only moist, but tender brisket in the oven. Check this out. I can already see all the hate mail and the thumbs down by those who love to jump to conclusions. That is because of the fact that I am using a corned beef brisket instead of a regular brisket tip. A quick FYI, a corned beef brisket and a regular brisket are the same. In fact, the corned beef brisket starts as a brisket. The difference is that the corned beef brisket is brine cured, where the regular brisket is packed dry. Because this is a braised oven brisket recipe, they are interchangeable. However, you have to compensate and use less salt and less pepper. So aside from the 3.5 pound corned beef brisket, I will be using 1 tablespoon of McCormick Grill Mates mesquite seasoning, salt, oregano, cumin, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, 2 teaspoons of liquid smoke, 2 to 3 teaspoons of lemon juice, 1 onion, a head of garlic, 2 to 3 carrots. I did use some mushrooms and that is 100% optional. Also know that baby potatoes are also a great option. Okay, now that we covered the ingredients, let's talk about the technical aspect of this particular recipe, and that having to do with the dry curing process. Dry curing is a process where we apply salt and pepper to our beef and we let it cure in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours. However, it is imperative that we do not deposit the beef directly into a pan. The best result I have achieved is by using a steaming rack like this and allowing the beef to float and create the perfect crust all around it. Another difference between the fresh brisket and a corned beef brisket is the color. The corned beef brisket tends to have a pink hue and is also a little bit more fatty on the outside. That is the reason why I am trimming it. I would normally use a regular brisket, but this was on sale, and for this particular recipe it will do. However, if you were to grill it, barbecue it, smoke it, or even a regular baked recipe, you may want to stick to a fresh brisket. Once trimmed, we'll pat it dry with some napkins, sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper, in moderation, normally we'll use twice as much, place it into the saucepan, cover it, and let it sit in the fridge overnight. The next morning, we're going to remove the brisket from the saucepan and bring a tablespoon of oil to temperature and start with the mushrooms. Cook these guys for 3 to 4 minutes until they start to get a little bit of color, at which time we're going to add the onions. Note that half of the onion is diced and the other half is just cut in rings. We're going to cook this down for 2 to 3 minutes until the onions start to get translucent, at which time we're going to add the dry spices and cook it while stirring it for a minute or 2. Then we'll add something that I left out from the ingredient list, and that is 2 cups of lemonade. Before starting any of my recipes, please always check my website CubanRedneck.com for any updates on the recipes. Understand that once these videos are published, there is no going back unless we delete them and put them back. Alright, we're going to bring this to a boil, and depending on the size of the saucepan, you may want to scoop a little bit of this broth onto a container. That is because after we put the brisket back in the saucepan, we're going to cover it with some of the onions, garlic, and juice. After putting the brisket back in the saucepan and covering it with our juice and onions, we're going to cover the saucepan well. I'm using aluminum foil, you can use wax paper or parchment paper, it really doesn't matter. And we're going to place this in a preheated 350-degree oven for 30 minutes per pound. After the time has expired, we're going to take it out, we're going to check for doneness. At this point, it should still have a little bit of resistance. We're going to add 2 to 3 teaspoons of lemon juice, baste it with the juices one more time and put it back in the oven. this time 45 minutes per pound at 250 degrees. After the time has expired, we should be good to go, but always check for tenderness, especially if you are using a fresh brisket instead of the corned beef variety. To serve it, what I normally do is move the brisket to a baking dish, and I scoop all the liquids into a measuring cup or some type of container. After skimming the fat, I will give it a couple of pulses with the immersion blender and turn it more into a gravy. I guess you can put it back on the pan, add some flour, and thicken it up, but I prefer it like this. Pour the sauce over the brisket, followed by your veggies, slice and serve. Without a doubt, this is an oven brisket recipe to try, and if you do, please leave me a comment. My name is JC, this is the Cuban Redneck DIY channel. Thank you for watching. Please support this channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Thank you.